Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Hacks and Hobbies. Today, we are diving into the art of storytelling and personal branding with a guest who is an absolute expert in both. Lily Patrascu is an ultra creative book publisher and personal brand strategist who works with thought leaders, CEOs, and luxury influencers. She's a best selling author, copywriter, global speaker, and an influencer in her own right. Her mission? To help busy entrepreneurs discover their unique message and share it with millions of people around the world. Lily, it's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Junaid.
Let's start with your incredible journey. How did you get into the world of book publishing and personal branding? Like, what inspired you to help others find their message and amplify their impact?
Thank you. So I used to be a nanny when I came to London, and I decided that I hadn't done much. So I wanted to look for something that could allow me to leave a legacy. So I published my first book called Meet the Nanny.
Meet the nanny.
And
I
in
love it.
that process, I became an author. And whilst I became an author, what I noticed is that I became a magnet for opportunities for people. And also, so many entrepreneurs wanted to do business with me, to invite me to so many different events, for
Mm,
me to promote their products and services. So many doors opened for me because of publishing a book. So many years later, I decided to help more people to find out about the power of publishing your book to elevate
mm.
your brand.
That's so powerful. And I can see that from my own perspective. As soon as I published my first book on home studios, people asked me, "Oh my God, could you come speak at the event, talk about your book? What inspired you?" Because I think books are the one thing that we all start to read at a very, very young age. I mean, I have 2-year-old kids, I have 6-year-old kids, and they all love books. They love reading them before going to bed. So it's synonymous to everybody that when you write a book, there's something very special about you because you spent a lot of time putting your thoughts into something that cannot be changed once it's done.
Yes. And I find that once you publish your book, you transform your world. And
Hmm.
because of that, you transform the world because you start to gain more confidence.
Yeah.
You start to see yourself in a different light. And because of that, you elevate your frequency and you attract more opportunities than if you had just had the ideas in your head. Now, what you'll
Hmm.
find is that most people are very creative and they have thousands of ideas. But a lot
Hmm.
of those ideas are not structured. That's a bit like having a library with all the books in all different directions and unsure where they are.
Hmm.
Whereas when you publish a book, it's almost like organizing your bookstore or your bookshelf. And all of a sudden, you know exactly where every single book is.
Hmm.
And when you publish a book, you become so organized with your ideas that you become a better coach, you become a better speaker, and you clarify and you structure your ideas so much for yourself that all of a sudden you gain a lot more confidence as a person. And as a result, you make it easier for thousands and potentially millions of people to create their own magic using your blueprint that you've created.
Lily, you obviously has a ton have that a ton of experience in this space because as you're speaking, you have so much confidence in your words. There's so much confidence and so much uh patience and so much like I love the way you're like answering my questions or we're having this conversation. It's like almost every single thing that you're saying, we can frame it because it's so powerful and it's so concise. I mean, that all comes from the experience that you've had by helping so many thought leaders, entrepreneurs, growing their personal brands through publishing.
Yes, it's so important to not only publish a book, but publish a book that will elevate your brand. And what that means is to create a book that, first of all, is related to something you would like to promote.
Mm.
Because so many people have so many ideas. Oh, I could write a book about property. I could write a book about piano lessons. I could write a book about my travels in Africa, right? So most entrepreneurs are confused about,
Mm.
first of all, which book to write first, and second, which book to write, because perhaps you are an entrepreneur and you have
Mm.
so many potential ideas. So, how do you choose the right one?
Yeah.
Now, the very first book should ideally be a book that combines two things: your stories and a result your ideal market would like to get, a
Mm.
solution for a massive audience's problem. If you do it like that, what you'll find is that millions of potential people could be interested in that topic. Whereas if you just write your story and you don't think about your audience, what
Mm.
happens is that you're going to miss out on a lot of business. And also, it's going to be a lot harder to reach your audience unless you're already a celebrity. Of course, if you're a celebrity, people will buy everything you produce.
Yeah,
But
they'll buy everything.
but if you're not, it's so important to create something that your audience would love to learn about. And it's important to do it in a way that is concise, simple, and short. So the best books tend to have one, two, or three words and slightly longer subtitle. What you'll find is that it's so important to do those books that have a short title
Mm.
because people have, um, they are distracted. People are
Yes.
distracted. So it's a good idea to write a book that has the desired outcome on the title of a book that is
Mm.
short and simple to remember. Because the
Yeah.
longer it is, the more likely it is your audience will forget about what you
Yeah.
actually had as a book title. And they are likely to forget about you as well.
That's a really excellent point, Lily, because some of the books that are swirling around in my mind that I've read, right? Um, books by our good friend Gary Vaynerchuk, crushing it. Two letters, right? Two words. You have Be Useful with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have, The One Thing by the author, I can't remember his name. You got The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Like all of these books has really short titles. And it's a really excellent point because now I want to go back and update the titles on my books that are already published. I'm like, oh my God, I should have a memorable title that people will remember. For example, a book that I've written is called 7 Stages of Home Studio Evolution. Now, that's a lot of words to remember. How would I, let's say, shorten that name, the title for that book, or, what thoughts do you have on that?
I would call it something like home studio and then add another keyword. So I would need to think a bit more about which
Of
keyword you would
course.
use. But the key thing is if you can reduce that to just three words, so home studio and then another keyword that
Mm-hmm.
expresses the desired result
Sure.
that your audience has, that's when you're creating something truly memorable. And then
Mm.
you can talk about what the book actually talks about in a more extensive way in the subtitle, but ideally don't make that subtitle too long as well.
Sure.
And if you can cope with just one title as opposed to one title and subtitle,
Mm-hmm.
then that's also good. So you don't
Yeah.
have to have a subtitle, and I actually prefer a lot of the books that don't have a subtitle, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do need a subtitle to kind of explain what the
Yeah.
title means. Okay, so I would call it, yeah, a home studio, um not makeover. I would have to think more on this, but the important
I mean,
thing
what if
is
I were to remove the 7 stages of and just say home studio evolution?
I don't think that evolution is the good word at all,
Okay.
because first, I don't even know what you mean by that.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right.
I would call it the perfect home studio, or um,
And I know
Or
I
yeah,
put you
there's
on
some.
point over here, but we don't have to.
Yes. No,
Yeah,
no, I don't mind at all, actually. But it would be something like create your perfect home studio, or and then I would have to still think about how to shorten that even further so
sure.
that we end up only with 3 words. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not possible because, for example, home studio is already 2 words, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and really it's actually just one thing, but you
Yeah.
would have to use the 2 words to kind of express what it
Right.
is,
Yeah.
right? So you've already kind of lost one word there. um, but you have to now you have the opportunity of using ChatGPT in
Of
order to give
course.
you some ideas. So what I
That's a
would
great
do
idea.
is ask ChatGPT to give you a 3 word title that expresses the desired result of having a perfect, um, maybe I'd call it the perfect home studio. How to create it, how to la la la, that would be in the subtitle.
Yeah. No, I like
Um,
that. That's a great one. And I keep thinking, the idea for the book actually came from a newsletter that I saw, or not a newsletter, but it was more like a an article, and it said seven levels of an investor, right? And then he's talking about investing money and whatnot. So I was like, wait, that could be a pretty good title for the book that I want to write. But regardless, that was thank you for doing that exercise with me. I appreciate it. Now, for someone who's listening, sorry, you want to say something?
Yes, I was going to say perhaps also home studios made perfect. So we've
Mm.
got 4 words now, and it's all we have to do now is just try to reduce even further.
Yeah,
So, it's not something that comes kind of immediately,
of
but
course.
I think in an hour, you can come up with something really good
Yeah.
that will kind of express the main idea and in a concise way that is an outcome that your clients desire. And
Mm.
if you do it like that, what you'll find is that you are more likely to, even if you don't kind of end up making a lot of sales on Amazon. And I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people do focus on that. I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you, I don't focus so much on making sales on Amazon. And it's kind
Sure.
of weird because you have to really think about who's your market.
Mm.
Okay. And of course, yes, you want new clients, but I'm thinking more about I want high net worth targeted clients that have a massive influence network. And if I gift, let's say, someone who is like a big time influencer,
Mm-hmm.
my book, and they desire, for example, to have a home studio that looks as amazing as mine, right? Then, first of all, I'm going to be the authority in that conversation. And they
Yeah.
could well have, 1 million followers or whatever, number of people, but they may not have my knowledge and expertise
Mm.
about how to create the perfect home studio.
Yeah.
So, in that conversation, I'm the authority in that niche, right?
Yeah.
So, I would look at, okay, I would gift that person the book. And although I haven't made an instant sale,
Mm-hmm.
what I've done is something more valuable, which is that now maybe this person, this influencer, could invite me to speak at his event that he's organizing in
Yeah.
front of 100 high net worth entrepreneurs, some
Mm.
of them billionaires, some of them multimillionaires, some of them property investors or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, that book has landed me a lot more business than me
Yeah.
selling 10,000 books to people that
Definitely.
actually, yeah, I could make $2 or $6 or whatever number of pounds per book. That people, yeah, and it's great. Frankly, it's great to have ordinary people who buy your book and who appreciate it and who change their lives and
Mm-hmm.
who are making a massive difference with their business because of your business and because of
Yeah.
your information. But ultimately, you also have to think about who is your market. So if your market is like a mass market and you want to reach
Mm.
millions of ordinary entrepreneurs, then you can think about that strategy of, okay, I need to sell millions of books. And you'll be
Yeah.
thinking about that in a different way if you want to reach a targeted group of, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 multimillionaires or 1,000
Mm-hmm.
billionaires or 1,000 of a certain type of group
Yeah.
that can afford your products and services, right? So you have to think very strategically in terms of what you want the book to do for you. And that's why I always talk about creating a book that will elevate your brand. And that's
Mm-hmm.
precisely why a lot of the times I choose to include my face on the cover of the book. Now, I don't care that millions of books don't have that concept.
Mm.
The reason for that is because my intention is that I'm memorable as a speaker. It's not just my message or my book is memorable.
Yeah.
What I want is that imagine that I speak in an event and someone puts my book on a PowerPoint presentation in front of 1,000 people. What I
Mm-hmm.
want is that I'm sitting there, let's say, waiting for my turn to speak, or I'm just not even speaking. Um, I want people to quote me and say, "Oh, wow, Lily had such an amazing, exciting, entertaining idea. And, this is her book." And then people see me in the audience and
Yeah.
they recognize me.
Yeah.
Or I'm traveling by I don't know, tube or by, some sort of transport. And then people see me with the book in my hand and they're like, "Wow, you're an author of this book. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, let me take a picture." So all of a sudden you have more media exposure opportunities, so you
Absolutely.
have to be very, very strategic.
No, that's really great advice because when I was putting the cover together, I was like, should I put my face on the book? And because it talks about something similar to what I do, like it actually talks about all the things that I help with people with, but it's more of a guide on which stage are they on. Anyways, we could talk about it at another time. But for someone listening, and you've given a ton of value here on what you think about when what you're putting in your book and what your own book and then what the cover does for people. But for someone who's listening but feels like they have a story to share, but they don't know where to start, what advice would you give them on finding their unique message?
Thank you. Now, because of ChatGPT is so much easier than
So much
it
easier. Yeah.
has ever been. So the very first thing I would do is first look at, okay, what is my intention? So if your intention is to grow your business with a book, then great. You have to think about what is your intention for yourself in terms of what do you hope to achieve.
Mm,
Is it to sell books? Is it to get booked for speaking opportunities? Is it to sell online courses?
mm,
Is it to leverage the book in order to sell online courses? You have to really deeply think about what is your objective for selling this book and creating this book, and what impact you want to create, and for whom, and who is your client avatar, who is your ideal demographic.
mm,
And what I normally like to do is to think about only one client. So I give this client a name, let's say Pedro or Sandra or whatever.
mm-hmm,
And I think of that client as a single client. And I think very deeply about this client in terms of what he or she looks like, in terms of maybe like how old they are,
mm,
and what they like to do, and what kind of magazines they read, and what kind of problems they have. And I focused the biggest amount of time thinking about what's their biggest problem, what is the kind of thing that keeps them up at night, what is the kind of thing that they think about regularly, that they can't do without, that they can't live without. So it becomes a little bit exhausting kind of going through
mm-hmm.
all the maybe like 100 questions. But
Sure.
by the end of answering this questionnaire about who is your ideal demographic, you come up with a really good idea of who your ideal client is. So let's say
Mm,
Sandra. Okay, Sandra is 42 and she lives in New York, and she has a dog and she has 3 children and she has a husband who doesn't like her. And I don't know. So it becomes very, very specific. And when you think of someone, just one person, it becomes so much easier to come up with a
yeah.
solution for Sandra than for like a gazillion people. And
Amen.
because you're thinking of one person, then it's so much easier to write for this person, because now all of a sudden you can imagine Sandra, or she's lying on the bed on Sundays and feels neglected because her husband
Mm,
doesn't bring her flowers anymore, or I don't know. You become almost like a friend of Sandra. And because
yeah.
you become a friend of Sandra, you understand Sandra. And because you understand Sandra, you understand what kind of problems she has. And because of that, that's the kind of thing you can write in the intro of the
Mm-hmm.
book. So maybe you're this kind of person, or maybe you're this other kind of person, and maybe you feel this way, and maybe you feel in the other way, and maybe you feel neglected, and maybe you feel. So when you say what this person feels,
Mm-hmm.
then it feels like when Sandra is reading this book, she feels like this book is for her.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'm Sandra's long lost friend, and you're writing to one person that has all of a sudden found a new friend,
Mm,
Lily. And Lily deeply cares about Sandra, and that's how I would start. Now, because ChatGPT can help you with a big process, what I would
mm,
do now is maybe ask ChatGPT for a series of questions that could help you to
mm,
establish what kind of needs, problems, and wants this ideal client has.
yeah.
And then you kind of like answer those questions, and then maybe ChatGPT can help you to kind of figure out, okay, Sandra is this kind of person, and this kind of need, has this kind of want, and so on. So then you can kind of shorten the process a
Yeah.
lot. And once you've done that, what I would do is expand that one client into thousands of clients that
Mm,
are not necessarily equivalent to Sandra, but are of a certain type. So I don't know, 40 to 60 that are living in the suburbs, or I don't know, maybe have a medical problem, or maybe
sure.
read this kind of magazine. Or so the more you identify the problem that the readers have, the more you're able to really come up with a more specific solution. And the more the readers who read that, they will think
Hmm.
about, okay, Lily has really thought about me.
Yeah.
Therefore, I should really read this book.
No, that's really powerful because as somebody who comes from user experience design or website design, you're again thinking about who is going to be using this site. Facebook, like all the apps that have gone through, they kind of create this persona that they're building the app for, right? And the different experiences that they're going to have when they're using the app. So book publishing sounds like a very similar kind of process. But because people, when they come to my podcast, same thing, like, hey, who's your listener? Who's listening to this podcast, right? So we're doing kind of the same thing for the book publishing. Figure out who are you solving this problem for, target them specifically. And I think what's his name? I think Seth Godin talks about a very similar thing in his book. When you're doing your this as marketing, focus on who is this going to be. And I think Gary Vaynerchuk in his latest book, uh, the attention, what's it called? The attention. I can't remember the name, but he talks about creating different cohorts for the messaging that you're putting out, and be very specific on those audiences, or the people, the person you're talking about, and then that makes the content so specific, but then everybody can see themselves in it. So that's really excellent advice. Thank you so much, Lily. Now, publishing a book sounds amazing, but it can also feel overwhelming sometimes, and I'm sure you help a lot of people through those processes as well. What are some of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to writing and publishing a book, and how can they overcome them?
Thank you. I think the biggest challenge is actually completing it. And what I mean by that is
Yes.
that you can have the book fully completed and still not give your okay. And the
Hmm.
reason you might want to do that is because you are a perfectionist and you are scared of success. So people need to kind of start accepting that they will be successful and that they've gone this far. It's almost like, jumping 99 fences and kind of staying stuck at the 99th and not going to the 100th that
Yeah.
would have completed the race.
Yeah.
And the key thing is to keep going. And at some point, you just have to say, you know what? I'm going to continue growing every single day. And I have to just accept that 90% okay or 80% okay is fine. And I have to just live with that. Because the thing is that I'm learning every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I continue improving the book tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after, yeah, it's going to be a great book. But ultimately, not publishing it helps you, I mean, contributes towards you missing out on so many opportunities.
So many
So it's
opportunities.
better that you give your okay and you publish it And then you kind of write your next one, and your next one will be better for sure. You'll
Yeah.
have better content, you'll have better stuff, but it's important that you keep going and stop being so much of a big perfectionist and just kind of publish it. So I would say that's the biggest challenge that I've seen entrepreneurs face. And you kind of need someone to kick you in the butt and say, you know what,
Mm,
get this published now the way it is, and it's fine. Okay. And you just have to keep going.
yeah.
And the other thing is getting it written, okay, can be a challenge. And that's why I've helped a lot of entrepreneurs to ghostwrite their book, because some people like to learn in a different style. So they like to
Yeah.
learn visually, they like to learn in an auditory way, and they don't like to write.
Mm,
And you don't have to force yourself to do something you don't like to do. You can just
I like that.
leverage someone else who loves that. So you would just record some audios
Mm-hmm.
and then give it to someone who likes writing that out. And that way you come up with something really awesome. And
Yeah.
then if once the book is completed, you don't even have to read it. You can have someone like dictate it to you. Like you can have like even probably like some with AI, you can probably have the entire
Yeah.
thing read by AI
Yeah.
for you. So you would like just listen to it. And then if there's any corrections, you can just like make some notes, or you can, send some auditory voice notes to
Mm,
your PA to fix it. And therefore, you can continue communicating in your preferred communication style.
yeah.
Because if you force yourself to write when you're really not um, a writer, then you're kind of like me, right? I'm a technophobe. Okay, so
Mm,
that's someone who dislikes technology. Having said
mm,
that, I am a broadcaster. I'm a
mm,
podcaster. I do motivational speaking events. I do a lot of techie stuff,
mm-hmm.
but I don't do it myself. I don't do like the video editing myself, and
Right.
still I produce and I release the episodes
Yeah.
within a couple of days, even though I'm a technophobe.
Yeah.
So you need to leverage the people and the opportunities that you have in front of you. And right now, there's so many in
There's
terms of
so many
like
options.
having a VA do things for you,
Yeah.
having a PA, having, AI do things for you.
No, that's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing, and the especially using the medium that we're most comfortable in. And I shared this before in another episode where a friend of mine was, he was doing a chapter in a book. So it was like compilation of different chapters. And it's like, hey, you should do a chapter because I'm doing a chapter in this book. I'm like, and I was like, no, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And then when I finally decided, sure, I'll do it, I was still apprehensive to write because, again, to write is hard for a lot of people. And again, it also comes down to how much time are you going to spend. So I spent 2.5 hours speaking into my phone, speaking while I'm driving to write the chapter for the book. And I ended up with 17,000 words. I'm like, are you sure that this is just for a chapter and not just for a full book? So you're absolutely right. There's so many different tools available for us now, especially than ever, that can help you get your message onto one or another form of media. And then we can bring in experts like yourself that can convert it into a legible, organized book that people are going to love to read.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, can you share an example of how one of your clients used their book to transform their personal brand and business?
Yes. So I've helped so many entrepreneurs. Some of them were actually initially housewives, and some were multimillionaires already. And what I've noticed is that every single entrepreneur or even housewife that I've helped, has managed to use the book as a way to get speaking opportunities. And
Wow,
they've all spoken in front of more than 10,000 people, even the housewives.
that's amazing.
So I was helping, for example, this lady that had 5 heart attacks, managed to survive.
Wow.
2 months later, she started collaborating with me and she became a published author and best-selling author. And after that, I invited her to so many speaking opportunities around the
Mm,
world, and she came to some, she didn't come to others. And she actually went with me to Dubai on a speaking tour. And on that tour, she found her current husband. So she
that's
used to be a
amazing.
housewife, divorced, and then, with time, she was single again, and then she found this, new husband, and now they're living happily in London together. And it's such a, joyous thing for me that there's more to a book than actually money, and there's more to a book than opportunities.
Agreed.
What can happen is you can find true love and you can find your will to live, which she did.
Yeah.
And in terms of multimillionaires and so on, I've helped property investors to start speaking in different places in Peru and Mexico, the
Hmm.
UK, Singapore, and Dubai. And this has been possible for a lot of my clients. So what's amazing is that every time I speak and at any event, I get
Yeah.
invited to speak in many more opportunities to speak. And in those places, a lot of times they say, we need other speakers. Do you know
Mm,
anyone? And of course,
yeah.
I know a lot of people. So I give all of these opportunities to my authors, and that's precisely why you can say I use my magic to share this magic to all the
Yeah.
authors that also want to grow their brand. And speaking around the world in front of hundreds of people is one of the keys to elevating your brand. And
Absolutely.
also, because I've been speaking around the world, people are coming to me with media opportunities like features in magazines, and they offer it to me. And then I say, well, do you have further spots for that? And a lot of times they do. And that's how some of my authors were also featured in media opportunities. And what I've noticed is that in the last couple of years, I've noticed that actually, you know what? Yes, I've helped housewives, I've helped multimillionaires. And what I've discovered is that I really prefer to help housewives and people who have
Mm,
nothing. But a lot of times they don't have the understanding of what I'm actually doing in terms of branding. So that's why now I'm starting to focus more on helping awakened business titans
mm,
to elevate their brand with a book, because they're the only ones that kind of truly understand my work.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I created this new podcast called Awaken Titans Podcast, where I
I love
interview
it.
them, and through that open the door for new collaborations. And that's where I interview multimillionaires, billionaires, and really special inspirational entrepreneurs.
Mm,
And it's been an amazing journey for me, because I've gone from coming to London with 100 euros in my pocket, and now my mission is to impact 100 million people to be happier, to go after what they
amazing.
want, to share their stories, and to create wealth through books that transform the world. And I'm still on that journey. I haven't managed to
Of
do it
course.
yet, but I do know that it's possible.
100%. Lily, thank you so much for sharing. I'm absolutely floored and impressed by the success, the consistent work that you've been able to help your clients uh, get, the as well as the speaking engagements. The one thing that stuck out to me was the transformation that they all experienced. And that's it, right? When you write a book, when you go through that process, you're it's almost like you're inside a cocoon, right? You're working, 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 and when you come out, you're the butterfly. You've completely transformed from where you are. You understand things in ways that you never imagined that you could, because now you speak a totally different language. So thank you for sharing that with us, Lily. Now,
Thank you.
our yeah, absolutely. Now, our listeners love actionable tips, and you've shared a ton in this episode so far. But could you share three quick hacks for someone who wants to get started with publishing a book to grow their personal brand?
Thank you. One hack is to learn how to speak confidently. Another hack is to leverage AI. A third hack is to raise your energy so that when you come up with all of these amazing opportunities for speaking, for authoring, for being in the media, you have the energy to take them. And the reason for that is because for a long period of time, I was ill. And although all of these massive opportunities were coming to me,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I was doing them, but I really struggled to do all of these opportunities because I was
Yeah.
unhealthy for a really long time. So being healthy and keeping your energy is so important.
Man, those are some powerful hacks. Thank you so much, Lily, for sharing those. This has been an absolute blast for me because as a new author myself, it's been a quite a fun journey, writing a few books, helping my siblings, my kids with their fun fictional, content. It's been like just an absolute amazing, and they're continually inspiring me every single day to go out and create more and more publication for the legacy, for building my brand, helping them build their brands even though they're younger, but then they will see the power of it as they grow and go through that process.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So in the next segment, we're going to jump into the fun 6 questions. So, Lily, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
I love dancing. And I think if I wasn't a publisher and if I could really make money with dancing, I totally wish I could dance more.
Nice. Well, since you're already making money with publishing, you could probably go dance as a hobby.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm doing it, but not as much as I really wish I could do it.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, what did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be a ballerina.
Hmm. There it is. That's where the, the hobby that you wish you got into. And my daughter loves the ballerina dances. She's like, I want to do gymnastics, and it's just fun to see, her flexibility and her passion around it. So that's awesome. I love it. Next up, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
I like suits, first of all, because the suits in the movie are really amazing, and I love good quality clothing.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't seen that show, but I know my wife has watched that show plenty of times. I think it's a really powerful show for sure. All right, next up, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
I love Legally Blonde, and the reason I love it is because I feel it's about empowerment. It's about
Mm-hmm.
empowering yourself to
Yeah.
choose to lead the life that you want to live.
Now, Reese Witherspoon did an amazing job in that movie, and she's still, pushing that uh, mission that she created in that movie. So it's amazing to, watch her bring all of those things to reality. So thank you. That was a great reminder. Next up, who is your favorite superhero?
Thank you. I don't actually have a favorite superhero,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say my mom is my favorite superhero because she is really like such an amazing superwoman, and she's
Mm-hmm.
managed to raise my brother and I on her own.
Yeah,
And I do think she deserves a massive award for that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yes, our moms are absolutely uh, very integral in our growth, in our mindset, in all the things that we become. Right? It's their power, and like you said, she raised you and your brother. My dad was also, is one sister and one brother. Uh, sorry, I have one aunt and my dad, and then they were raised by my grandmother too, because my great my great my grandfather passed away when my dad was like 7 years old, so at a very young age. And I remind him every time, like, look, where you came from, and now you have 7 kids, all with their own homes, all with their own cars and businesses and whatnot, because that is the power that your mother was able to bring, and that we have here. So thank you for sharing that, your mom being the superhero, because they truly are. Next up, if you are a board game, what would it be?
Okay, my board game would probably be Speakers Are Leaders because
Mm.
my partner and I have the workshop called Speakers Are Leaders, and we do want to create a board game
Ooh.
about really amazing public speaking techniques, and to integrate certain things like, maybe like a card in it
Mm-hmm.
that kind of gets you to speak about something, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I would definitely buy that board game if you were to create it. So please keep me on the loop. I love board games, and they bring out a very creatively and very energetically how how people play those games. All right, well, Lily, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to the next segment. Well, that was the last question, but Lily, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. Before
Thank you
we
so
wrap
much to you.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to celebrate the incredible value you've shared today. So, thank you so much. Your expertise in helping entrepreneurs and find their message and use books as a vehicle for personal branding is truly, truly inspiring. I'm going to be looking at my books in a totally different light now. And I especially loved how you shared, how the books become your, it gives you more opportunity to be in more stages. It becomes your um, what's that word? I can't remember the word. It becomes your
Your
salesperson.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes your salesperson, your business card. All right, I love it. This was so much fun. Is there anything else you would like to leave our listeners with, and how can they connect with you or learn more about the work that you do?
If you would like a free strategy session so you can discover how to publish your next book, go to www.lily.global/free, and you can get a free session with me. And we'll talk about how you too can publish your own book.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lily. I'll be sure to include the link in the show notes so that I can get to it quickly. Thank you again for insightful, motivating conversation. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you've ever thought about writing a book, I hope this episode gave you the inspiration and practical advice you need to get started. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and hacking away at your hobbies and passions. Here's to making 2025 the year you share your story with the world. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.